evening, everybody, and welcome back to the last episode for this season, at least, of Outback by Night. This is a Red Center by Night recap, where we talk about all the things that goes behind the scenes. I am Rina, and I am the storyteller for this chronicle. Here with me is my co-host for the night.
My name is Jeff.
Stop.
I'm just kidding. It's me. It's Lou, and I'll be your beloved co-host for the evening.
But yes, when I started Red Center by Night, it was just an idea I had. I think back in August, I was about to go home to the Philippines when somebody recorded, or at least recommended, recommended that I do a story regarding my experiences in Alice Springs, because I was ranting about how bad the crimes are ramping up and nobody seems to care, not even the locals. And I was just talking to, I think I talked to Martina about this. Like, it's a great setting for a chronicle, mainly because you can throw in all kinds of things there and the locals won't seem to care. And most of the populations are backpackers, tourists, or people who are temporarily there based in the US Pine Gap, which we have set the stories first, the garden that turned into the Ark. Most of the story was written on the way back to the Philippines. I was in a layover for a long time in Singapore. I think it was like 23 hours. Mainly because I was traveling in the middle of pandemic, because I needed to go home and be reunited with the Philippines. Because as most of you know, during those 2 years, Australia has been in lockdown before the story started. And I actually started recruiting most of the cast before we reopened, and we were talking about when I set the call out for everyone. I was asking them, like, are you vaccinated? Mainly because we cared about not becoming a, what do you call it, Lou? This super spreader thing?
You mean a carrier?
No, there's a word where they talk about like big gatherings and you become like an incident or a big...
Infected?
Oh my god.
Like a zombie? Yeah, I mean, that's how zombie apocalypses started, right? Right? Big gatherings, and then people, spread the germs, and next thing you know, there's mushrooms growing out of your head. But that's different, like that's actually airborne. Well, it is airborne, the spores.
Yeah, the spores
Well,
are airborne.
I know what I'm talking about. I've watched The Last of Us. It's fine.
Yeah, we haven't even finished it.
I mean, we played it.
Yeah, to be fair. Still. Yeah, during the time, like, it was really not recommended to do a show, and I did let them know that it might be delayed for a few, like, or more, maybe a year later, because, there was a whole thing. Most of them are really good. They were really amazing. Everyone talked. Everyone got to know each other during the time that I was away.
Yeah, it seemed like they have the group itself has it's comprised of very charming individuals. Each of them have a lot of charisma, and I believe they really brought it out in their characters as they kind of transitioned into, like, from episode 1 onto like next episode and the next episode. I feel like they really like wore the shoes on their on their characters as play style. They really RP'd really well, and I really I gotta give them props for how they played their own characters and whatnot, even though didn't you say that they were these are your characters, not theirs?
Oh, one group actually with the Bahari, they were the surprise group. We encountered a whole lot of issues when the recording started, and of course the Camarilla and the Second Inquisition were already slotted in. The Bahari were a surprise group. They were just supposed to be there as guests. And when I asked them, hey, can you jump in as full-time characters, they were all game to just take the characters and turn it into their own.
Yeah, but like, didn't you write each of these characters?
Yeah. I wrote the backstories for most of the Bahari characters. However, some of the players actually detailed them. They fleshed them out and turned them real, which is amazing because, wow, seeing your NPCs turn to life is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, you wrote the blueprint, but they're the ones who really like fit the bill. And without them, we could never really tell how these characters would come to life. Like, what I'm saying is basically they brought the characters to life.
Yep. And honestly, I do not regret any of the decisions with the first season. We have encountered a whole lot of issues regarding the filming itself, mainly because we are all new to in-person tabletop. Most of my experiences with tabletop with Vampire the Masquerade was during the pandemic, and playing over Zoom, streaming or playing over Zoom or Discord was a whole thing. And in a way, it is a way for me to connect back to other people because I live in Alice Springs. There's not a whole lot of people there. And they became even scarce during, the whole lockdown thing because our borders were shut. So yeah, turning this into a whole thing, bringing them to life, all the players were amazing in that regard, and most of them have experiences with tabletop RPG, but not with Vampire the Masquerade. We did a whole lot of one shots where they learned how to play their characters. They found the tone, the vibe, and then when it came for the actual filming, they're comfortable with how they will play the character.
Yeah, it's funny that most of them haven't actually played V5, but it's a simple enough system that if you're coming from like D&D or another tabletop, it's really easy to pick up. But where it gets really fun is when you start learning like the lore and the in-depth use of disciplines and whatnot, especially like the clans themselves. You can simply just jump into a game and say, hey, I'm gonna play a Toreador and be a pretty face in our group, and I'll be the one talking, whatnot. But once you really learn what it's like to play as a Toreador, learning the clans, Bane and history, and their role in the Camarilla or Anarch or Independent, whatever you choose, it's their prerogative. That's when that's where the fun in tabletop really is. When you really learn the system and the lore itself. That's when you can really do a lot of things and show off like how you can incorporate your personality. Does it like mesh with the clan itself? Does it mesh with the story? Or like you figure out if you got to change a couple things, and maybe you don't need to change your character at all. Maybe you want to play a very edgy Ventrue, not a like very streetwise Ventrue compared to like a very typical business corpo type.
Gorilla dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, since most of the players haven't played or haven't heard of Vampire the Masquerade or haven't played V5, the ideas they brought to the table regarding their clans, their character concepts was really...
Did they design their own character concepts? Or?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, you just told them like, hey, this is your character, but it's really up to you and how you want to play it and how you want to redesign it?
No. So with the Camarilla and the Second Inquisition, they were free to do their characters how they wanted. With the Bahari, I gave them a template, I gave them a backstory, I told them this is how usually they would react, But I told them, feel free to change because I want the character to be you. I want the character to be authentic, you know? I don't want you to act contrary to your playstyle. So I asked the players, the ones that I asked to be the guest, fit into the character concept I had in mind. That's why most of also some of the NPCs were actually based on the players before they got to the table.
So you like, so like let's take Charlie for example. Well, you took one good look at Adam and you're like, oh, he's definitely Banu Hakim.
No. Like I said, the Camarilla and the Second Inquisition, it was their character concept. It was their idea.
Oh, okay.
But the Bahari players, they were originally supposed to be guest characters. And due to the circumstances at the time, they were asked to become full-fledged characters. Look at the guest characters we have, like Renee, playing as Aline Max. I met Renee before I thought of Aline. And I'm like, oh, she will definitely fit, like, in the Second Inquisition as this type of character. Like, I had the character in mind, but the fleshing out of the character, I didn't have it. I had like a framework of how I wanted the NPCs to be.
Right, but yeah, now it's kind of hard to determine who's an NPC because they're all played by somebody.
Yep.
With the exception of I guess several characters like 7, 8, and 9. So like what I'm saying is, I feel like it's hard to see who the NPC is anymore in the PC because everyone's kind of playing it on a table. Like you got guests and other people like myself to play each character. So what is how do you determine if someone's an NPC or not at this point? Because it seems like everyone's playing a specific character now.
Well, it's kind of easy to see who's the NPC, considering the fact that the NPCs doesn't really progress. They don't have a free will outside of the table. Like their character themselves, let's say with Jam. Chloe Jam Jameson is a character concept I've had for a while. It's amazing that art was able to bring them to life. But outside of that, outside of the table, outside of that one session, I have control of the character.
Okay. I guess while we're talking about the characters here, why don't we get into the specifics? Didn't we say we're gonna talk about each character and how they've evolved from, I guess, before the game itself, and I guess now coming up on season 2.
Yeah. Currently, we will be having like a short hiatus. That's how you pronounce it.
Hiatus, yeah.
Hiatus for between season 1 and season 2. We are gearing up for season 2, and everyone's quite excited about it. But of course, character breakdown and comparison is what I had in mind for this final episode, so to speak.
Yeah. Let's talk about
Let's start with Charlie Knox.
No, let's start with the Second Inquisition.
Oh, you want to start with the Second Inquisition? Come on, we always start with the Camarilla.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah. No, I'm just going off the website here.
Wow.
The first thing is Second Inquisition. Look, it's SI and then Camarilla and then Bahari. Yeah.
Okay, let's go with the Second Inquisition.
I'm looking at the website right now.
Mel, Lou's being mean to you.
What? Huh? What? The website's amazing.
Yeah,
she designed this herself. Damn.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening and curious what I'm looking at, it's redcenterbynight.net. That's the link. Just type it in, and it's the first thing you'll see on Google. And you'll see the amazing work by Melissa, our resident Nosferatu.
Of course, the Nosferatu makes the best websites.
Oh yeah, I'm convinced she's part of ShrekNet.
Oh no.
The first person we see.
Just a disclaimer: we're not part of any. We are not affiliated in any way with the Camarilla, the Bahari, the Sabat, the Anarchs. What else?
Speak for yourself.
Wow.
Let's see. So the Second Inquisition, a Red Center by Night. So let's talk about this SI. How'd you come up with the SI's story here?
Well, every story needs a protagonist. Everyone thinks that they are the protagonist in the story, of course. Everyone thinks that, of course, if it's your point of view, you guys are the protagonist. But when you think about it, as somebody normal, living in a normal world with no vampires, werewolves, or whatsoever, usually the protagonists, the heroes of the story, are the ones who are hunting those creatures of the night. Because look at our folklore. Even in our folklore, the ones hunting those creatures of the nights are, the heroes. Also because all vampires are monsters, so... I came up with the story of the Second Inquisition. The storyline itself, it surprisingly came from a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all I remember from that dream, I wrote it right after I woke up. All I remember from that dream was I was an agent. I was being shown around this facility. I was with a group, and then there was like a long hallway, and the next thing I know, red lights were blaring, and we were running for our lives. And then, as we reached the end of the whole hallway, the floor just dropped. So that gave me an idea about the Second Inquisition storyline. In the first place, the whole Red Center by Night, I began the story with one thing. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be the salt mine, but it's still connected still. So I made it a thing. There was a one shot with the camera that gave me the salt mine idea. It was off the coast of Sydney in ocean water surrounded by salt.
Yeah, so let's talk about the actual characters. The protagonist, as you say, I highly doubt they're actual protagonist.
They're actually meaner than the monsters.
Yeah, the first person that we see here is good old Tristan. Trist. Yeah.
Yeah, Joel, who played Trist, was so fun and quite patient, honestly, because he had to change his character sheet like 8 times. I think I have a whole folder just of his character sheets.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone through a whole lot of character concepts before he settled on Trist, the hacker. And with season 1, we see episode 1 that Trist himself is described as... He looks like a hobo. Because that's how Trist is. He doesn't care about his looks. He doesn't care about talking to people respectfully. He's very blunt. But he's really good. He's quite crafty. He's quite smart. He's good at sniffing out clues that the other players have missed. And I guess it's part of like Joel, the player himself, because he's a veteran in terms of tabletop RPGs. You know?
Oh yeah, I feel like most of Trist's personality is heavily based off of Joel's.
Yeah, it is just Joel.
I think there was one time I actually called Trist Joel, just because I couldn't tell them apart. Because how Trist is how Joel is IRL, except for the
working in a secure government.
Yeah, the SI part.
We don't know that yet.
Actually, we don't know. But yeah, I really like Trist. In the beginning, he was struggling a bit with the group itself, as in his character was, because he wanted to do a couple of things. He wanted to investigate. He wanted to do craft a few items that would help them, but unfortunately, Trist was
stuck in the van.
Trist was always told no. It's like a kid that was always being told no whenever they ask for something from their parent. Their parent, in this case, being
Mr.
Talon, or whoever is the higher ups, like Mr. Winters. But I guess in the end, as he got through a couple hurdles and taking care of 7, was it?
Yeah.
I feel like Trist really broke out of his shell, and eventually started, making his own decisions without other people's,
Input. Permission. Yeah.
Which was really good. Because that would that kind of blended really well with how the plot was thickening. I don't know why I said it like that.
Why?
The thickening.
Watch out, season 2. The thickening is upon us.
Yeah, forget Gehenna. It's called the thickening. But yeah, I really like Trist's character. Mostly because Joel plays Trist. I don't know how I would have felt if someone else played Trist. Honestly, I can't even imagine if anyone else could play Trist, just because I'm so used to Joel playing him. But Trist is definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire Chronicle.
I think with Trist turning to Tristan, having like a little glimpse of the future with like episode 8, with how I structured the episodes, episode 7 is supposed to be the finale, and then episode 8 is when the real story starts, so to speak. So from Trist, who was always being told no and having to struggle with all these like powerful beings around him, he is the only like true human in the group. And
the one that actually matters.
Yeah,
he's the chosen one to be the mortal.
He's the mortal. He's really a mortal. He had nothing. He doesn't have true faith. He doesn't have anything except for his street smarts, his craftiness, his hacker skills. That's it. He doesn't have any skills in talking to people. He was at a disadvantage this whole time. Is this why you're like Trist?
Yeah, you gotta go for the underdog, man.
Yeah, he's such an underdog, and I felt bad for like Trist. And it's like he's got like really good inputs, but nobody wants to listen to him because he's
mortal. He's at the bottom of the food chain, both in the human world and the world of darkness.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how shitty people will treat you if you're at the bottom of the food chain. So from Trist, the bottom of the food chain, to becoming Professor Tristan after being kicked into a hole and making a deal with the devil.
There was quite a lot of in between before he got to where he is now. He's still a human, but he's different now. He's different. He's with a bit of assistance from the supernatural means. Is he really human? Is he really still Trist? Who knows? We'll have to figure it out in season 2.
Check with season 2.
I believe he was branded by a particular being.
We don't know what kind of being. We don't know the name. We just know that it looked like the cooler Jeff. As they branded it in.
One must not speak his name in such a way. That guy has no sense of humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Trist.
No, the fact that Trist actually didn't know, the ending with episode 8, Trist didn't know. Trist thought that the Mr. Locke, Dr. Yue and 7 got out. He legit thought that they betrayed him. Like everyone betrayed him, including Jeff. Everyone. That's why he didn't care. He just wanted to die at episode 8.
Well, we've got some news for you, buddy.
It's so
sad. They did. All of them are dead.
It's so sad. They sacrificed themselves for Trist, and Trist thought that they betrayed him. well, some some good confrontations maybe is in store for season 2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how he reacts to seeing the others in the alternate timeline.
Also, Joel was actually choking when I asked him why is he not choking. He started choking.
But let's move on to Dr. Yue.
Oh, Dr. Yue.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Dr. Yue?
Oh, Evie, who played Dr. Yue, is has really amazing facial expressions. I love Dr. Yue's facial expressions. It's great making gifs of her. Dr. Yue herself with episode 1 was introduced as this Huijin doctor who is just a contractor. Her goals, as we learn later on, like at the end, is to establish a supernatural hospital, which is gonna be a neutral ground for everyone that enters. Her character itself, as Huijin, is quite cold. However, because I think Evie, the player, is not as cold as Dr. Yue, or as you'd like to describe Dr. Yue to be, some of that bright sunshine personality comes out.
I didn't know that she was meant to be cold-hearted.
She's supposed to be cold-hearted.
I thought she was more human than both Trist and Talon. That's my personal opinion upon watching, all the SI episodes. It felt like she was the actual human.
Yeah.
Well, more like in terms of humanity. If there was a humanity scale, I feel like she would have the highest in the SI, in the entire organization.
She actually cares. Some of the things that Dr. Yue have gone through, which is babysitting the two, 90%, 95% of the episodes.
Yeah, she definitely had to play mom for the majority of the entire chronicle. Seeing her mediate between Trist and Talon was a bit of a headache for as a character, not as as a watcher, but I feel like it's a lot of work to keep a group together, especially when there's two personalities that are definitely clashing and incompatible. Because both I guess Talon has a really strong personality, super strong, but Trist, I guess he's got his own ways, kind of a rebellious little brat.
I mean, he doesn't really care about authority, so it's planted in his character backstory.
Yeah, so I feel like with Dr. Yue there to mediate, she had to make a couple of calls that probably shouldn't need to, because there were so many conflicting issues at hand, but she made it work still,
She really worked hard, especially that episode where Dr. Yue had to put her foot down and tell them to stop fighting and apologize to each other.
Oh, you mean when when Talon threatened Trist and then afterwards told him to go sit in the corner or something?
Yeah, just stay in the van, or the usual line. And then Dr. Yue got some nuggets and they were told to come back to the Ark.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was Yeah, I feel for Dr. Yue.
It is really hard to be the mom, especially when there's two. At least in my point of view, there's two immature brats yelling at each other. One is spoiled because of they've got the authority, they've got all this stuff going on for them their whole life, and then the other one is just a rebellious teenager. Dr. Yue got it rough.
Yeah, speaking of one of the kids that she had to take care of, the other member of the Second Inquisition was Mr. Talon. What are our thoughts on Mr. Talon?
Ooh, okay. So Aston had a concept for Mr. Talon, which is he's got like a whole backstory to Mr. Talon. Unfortunately, as the storyteller, I wasn't able to shed light into it because 90% of the time they were arguing too hard for me to get a leeway. And then the story hooks I had laid out for them, they completely have ignored because Mr. Talon wanted to take charge, so to speak.
But you gotta respect a person like that. I think I mentioned this, but I kind of support the underdogs of the story, and in a way, he is kind of an underdog because,
Wow.
in a way, and here's why: is because nobody likes him. You know, nobody likes him, and the fact that he was trying to get things done. That's where I kind of lean towards, like, oh, okay, I see your end game. However, the process and getting there is a little iffy for me. It's a little rocky, that road, and but I still have a little bit of respect for the guy.
I don't know, Mr. Talon from episode 1 reminded me too much of how Mr. Winters worked, and everyone thought Mr. Winters is a tyrant. And so with Mr. Winters gone in the story, being kicked out and stuff like that, Mr. Talon sort of, I don't know, like the whole tension between Trist and Mr. Talon just kept on rising through the episodes. And I, as a storyteller, had to actually tell them to rein it in, because instead of doing investigating, which is their job, they were 90% arguing on the table, and they get upset, and I have to deal with it.
Hey, what's a little drama, huh? What's a little spice to your meal, eh? I don't mind that. I mean, as a viewer, I can say that seeing a little bit of tension between characters in the same group is actually rather entertaining. However, if it's every single episode that nothing's getting done, the story's not progressing, that's when it gets a little annoying, you know? And I can imagine for players themselves, like they want to progress the story, but if there's nothing going on and all you do is argue, then it gets it'll kind of drag the story itself. And I can see why someone wouldn't like Talon.
Yeah, I was just kind of sad because I had a lot of story hooks for them to explore in the story, and I wanted to show like the backstory of Mr. Talon, but I didn't get the chance because they were off doing other stuff.
Hey, what's a story without without detours and whatnot? I guess that's a good thing about Talon is even if we didn't see his backstory, you can assume what's gone on with him. He's probably had a really dark story, but because he's a mysterious type that only wants to get shit done, that's the story itself. That's the kind of character he is.
And
As a viewer, we'd like to see more, of what happened, why he's like that. But the imagination can do wonders.
Yeah, that's true. It's just when we made the character creation, I didn't expect that there would be like a big clash between the two personalities. So with Mr. Talon, we ended his story in episode 6. Episode 7, he was gone, at least in the story. He disappeared. The salt mine had devoured him or whisked him away somewhere else. But in episode 8, at the end of it, they found the Second Inquisition group found Mr. Talon again. And so we're looking forward for season 2 to see what happened to Mr. Talon.
Yeah, I gotta give it to Aston, though. I think he played talent magnificently,
Mm.
to the point, like just like his character, you know. He was given a deadline, and that deadline was met for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why, you know, every group needs somebody like that. If not, then, you know, nothing really gets anything like done. You know what I mean?
I'm like that.
What? You have to stick up your hands. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm too awkward for that, man.
Maybe that's why you're awkward. The way you move, the way you waddle, is because you have a pole up your.
It's because I have 3 layers of like
Oh my
clothing.
god! I thought you said you had 3. You were gonna say you had 3 legs. I'm like, ooh, you consider that an extra leg? Damn, girl. Yeah, some things I'm learning today. Okay, let's move on to our new member of the SI, Mr. Locke, played by
Cat.
Cat.
Cat was like an amazing role player. That's all I can say. She's really great with expression, like expressing herself with her hands, her whole body. You can feel the stage presence from across the table, because when she is explaining things and she is moving and acting with her whole body. And when she entered the scene with episode 7,
She was choking.
She was choking. I asked her, like, can you choke for like the intro? It was so awkward.
Yeah, that's not really the first thing you want to, you know, ask somebody. The first thing you ask is like, hey, what's your name? You know, but instead you're like, hey, can you choke for me? I'm like, what? Excuse me?
That's why I'm awkward.
Let me do a double take. Excuse what?
No, but it was like Kat was game, because I had to explain to her, like, okay, so you are in a place where humans can survive. There's no oxygen in there. And so she's like, yeah, I'm game to do that, enter and stuff. I gave her the signal. She entered choking. Can you not do that, please? It's so awkward. But yeah, she entered choking, and then she was just, even though she's there for like episode 7 and 8 only, the difference, well, at least for season 1, she will be joining us for season 2 as the permanent 4th member of the Second Inquisition to round up the group. She brought a whole new dynamic into the table with her her punishment, so to speak, her punishment being walking for hours on end. And I can, even though you cannot see it, I can see sweat on Kat's face as she's playing Mr. Locke. And at some point, she almost actually had a panic attack on the table because she was faking it, and it almost turned into it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like, it was.
Was she hyperventilating?
Yeah, she was hyperventilating.
My God.
It was great.
What you put your players through, man. It's a life-threatening situation.
I didn't ask them to
in character and out of character.
I was just describing the
You
situation.
should put
and
a sign while we're recording, safety hazard. And it should be right above the storyteller.
Days since incident 0. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely love to see more of Kat.
Yeah, her
Mr. Locke, I mean.
edge with her edge is like the martial one. She really embodied that. It was great.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see any fight scenes in the labyrinth, apart from the very last part where they they got deleted by by a particular mage.
Yeah. But honestly, imagine joining a table and being told that you're gonna die in the first episode. The first session that you're ever joining.
I feel like that's pretty fun.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah, okay.
Like, okay, how dramatic do you want it to be? If someone asked me that, how dramatic do you want my death to be? Am I gonna get Sparta kicked into oblivion? Please tell me yes.
No, you just have to, save the world by fighting some kind of evil creature. And then we see like a little bit of like Mr. Locke's backstory with episode 8 when they found the team, the original team from episode 7 from the first timeline. They found Mr. Locke's original team there. And Kat had to, play the part of unknown expression. I don't have enough English for this. Her expression was just one of like sadness, even though she doesn't know these people in this timeline.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, overall, Kat is an amazing role player. Check out her TikTok. Alright. Now let's go to the Camarilla.
Yeah, the cam. I gotta say, this is probably my my favorite group, just because it was biased because I actually played with them, on the table. I played with the SI too, but the SI was all about getting things done. But with the cam, it was just fun because there's a lot of banter going on, and we'll get into it in a bit. But yeah, let's talk about the story of the Camarilla. Like, briefly, how do you feel about the actual Camarilla group and how their story went?
The Camarilla story, which I think one of the feedbacks I got when I did the story was the fact that they were surprised it started in Sydney. Like, a lot of people, I think 99% of the people watching this doesn't know that Alice Springs exists. And so I had to start it in a familiar setting, which is a place that everyone in the world know about Australia. The Sydney Opera House. With, of course, every Camarilla story starts with an Elysium, which I brought in with their first episode. I brought in Dasha and Alice Barr, even though at that time they just thought they will just be guesting. And when I wrote the story, how I wrote it is I just attached scenes. I attached a story to a place. So depending on where they go, the story could change. So they ended up in the casino instead of where I thought they would go, like the other places. Like the reptile park, the desert park rather. They went straight to the casino instead, which is unexpected. There were some things that I had in mind for the casino, and I had to roll as to which scenario they would meet up. And Delilah ended up picking up part of their story instead in there, having a little too close for comfort meet up with the Second Inquisition. And the ending itself, I didn't expect that it would be extremely emotional for everyone, including me, with episode 7. And in episode 8, I had to explain to them that whatever you know about season 1, forget about it and have fun with your characters. And so they went the opposite way with their characters. So this is gonna be a fun breakdown of the characters of the Camarilla.
Yeah, why don't we start with the Messiah, Jen. Let's talk about Argent. I feel like Jen really stole the show. From the beginning, I already liked each of the characters in the Camarilla, but from the beginning, Jen had a certain aura about them, especially in Elysium. But as we got to know them a little bit better through the story, they kind of open and they share their vulnerabilities quite easily, as the story progressed. and learning about Jen was an experience, and you can really tell how Hollow, kind of brought that out with their own character, from their character and into the game itself. And it was quite enjoyable to really get to know Jen. I actually played with Jen. I had a whole majority of one episode with them as Jeff, and it was really, really fun and exciting to be in the same table as them. What I really like about Jen is that the Camarilla group unanimously chose them as the Messiah, and seeing how they reacted and how their character truly blossomed in the labyrinth, and the decisions they had to make, and the betrayal.
Yeah.
The betrayal was quite fantastic as a watching, but I can imagine as a player it's completely devastating to find out that all of your homies have just thrown you under the bus, and they're gonna leave you. And even they mentioned that they don't want to be alone. That's like one of their biggest fears, and that's exactly what happened to them. And we really see how Jen broke down in that moment, and for the rest of the coming episodes from that point.
Yeah, Jen is one of the oldest, as old as Charlie in the group. They're actually one of the Ancillas, and they're more in tune with technology. They're more fun, even though they are counted as a Camarilla pet. They're playing as the princess pet. They were sold off by their sire in exchange for a boon, which is quite sad.
What kind of boon? Just wondering. Was it just like a minor boon?
No, it was a major one.
Imagine if your character is just worth a minor boon.
That's a thin blood.
That's a slap in the face, man.
I don't want to be sold off.
Not even even a major boon is terrible. Because being sold off to another person, the prince, that's they're literally putting a price tag on you. And it wasn't even your choice. It was their sire's choice, which,
You amount to this much kind of deal. That sucks as a person.
Yeah, so we can definitely see and feel how Jen feels about that. But the thing is, they've had some time to really figure themselves out. And, I think they were reserved. If they weren't sent out to Alice Springs, I feel like they would have been reserved to just be with the prince.
Yeah.
But really, because of being sent to Alice Springs, they really figured out who they were and what they wanted in life, or I guess on life. And they really bonded with Maxie and Delilah.
Charlie.
But Charlie, they already had a bond.
No,
you
their
know,
bond
that was
is different. They didn't know how deep the bond is with Charlie. Even Hollow, the player, didn't know how deep the bond is with Charlie until the last, the episode where Charlie is talking to them.
Oh yeah, when
saying goodbye.
Charlie said goodbye.
Oh.
I think everyone in the room felt that.
I was so sad editing it. I was just I'm trying not to cry because I was editing the teaser for it, and I wanted to cry at that part because it was just so sad. And even on the table, watching them, I set this whole thing up where as the Messiah, they're not allowed to know what the other players will do. So I had gathered everyone. I mentioned this in episode 7 recap. I gathered all the other Camarilla members and then told them to write their goodbyes. And the look of shock with everybody is just okay. And it made I think what made it more personal and emotional is the fact that they everyone has known each other for months, a year at that point.
No, yeah.
There's bond.
Oh, you mean out of character?
Yeah, out of character. They've known each other for a year. So the characters' reactions, the players' reaction too. So I love it for Jen now turned Soul. Going around episode 8, going around Elysium, seeing all these people who are different from what they've remembered them. They've waited for 800 years in solitude, except for that one break where they've met the Bahari group. And seeing, like, imagine going back to your hometown, to your home, and seeing like your homies, your friends, and they're completely different. And they don't remember you.
Yeah, that's some mindfuck shit.
And the only one who seems to remember is the Malkavian doctor, the Primogen. And he's not of any help, according to the players.
I mean, a Malkavian being of any help, it's that's a dice roll in it of itself. Asking for help from a Malkavian. No offense, just disclaimer: Malkavian is my favorite clan. So, yeah, asking the doctor for any assistance would be kind of like shooting yourself in the foot in a way.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably give you like 1,000 answers, but you don't know which one is the actual answer.
And who knows? They may have already given you the answer, and you don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just mindfucky to talk to Malkavians in general.
Yeah. But regardless, I feel like Jen in the last episode had a lot of reservations, and I feel like they did a pretty good job keeping to themselves, even though like I feel like that character itself, after how many hundreds of years being alone and seeing your family again, they would feel a certain way. But I feel like they just kept their cool and didn't really acted really nonchalant about the whole thing.
Except for like Isadora. The Toreador Primogen actually managed to get some information out of Jen, which surprised me. That whole episode 8 was just like, do you have a moment? An insight check.
Well, I mean, that's just
Elysium.
That's just Elysium and a Toreador Primogen. Like, what do you expect? That's literally what's they're really good. Yeah, Paulina. But I guess we're still talking about Soul here.
Soul.
We can get into Isidora, but I feel like Jen, or rather Soul, kept it together pretty damn well in the last Elysium.
Though Soul did sound pretty crazy when they were telling Isidora the story of what happened. Would you believe Soul if they told you that?
No. No, I mean, in
Elysium.
Okay, so in Elysium, there's a plethora of different personalities, and you don't know, this person might claim to be, one thing, but is actually another, and they could be making things up, like just like the doctor, they'll give you 1,000 answers, but you don't know which one is the real one.
Yeah.
So I guess it's that sense, and what you gotta do in Elysium is really trust your insight, your own instincts, your own beliefs, and see if they actually are telling the truth or not. Because I guess that's what's fun in the Camarilla, is figuring out who's telling the truth, who's hiding things, and who you can tell are who they really are beneath that mask. Because everyone puts on a mask in Elysium.
Oh, Soul. I can't wait for season 2 to see how Soul goes around actually trying to convince people,
Yeah, I'm really excited as to how that character will turn out in the coming season. But I guess next up on the list is Maxi Serav.
Our urban Ventru. The edgy Ventru.
Maxi Taxi. Whenever I think of Maxi, all I can think about is the Maxi Taxi and all the orgies they've had in that damn plane. I can imagine all the seats are stained in one way or another.
According
blood
to
or
them,
other
that
fluids.
never happened.
Yeah, Jeff doesn't believe that.
Mm-hmm,
Jeff would be very down.
with two
for that.
twin pilots, 2
Mhm,
hot twin
mhm, mhm.
pilots. Oh, no. No. Oh, I have so many words for like Maxi Seraph. First of all, like when Kai actually only had like a few days to make Maxi Seraph, like 3 days before filming started. And they managed to make a whole backstory, complete with all the characters, like touchstones and everything. So they managed to, within 3 days, they managed to create a whole backstory complete with the touchstones. And I'm really grateful for that, because all I can rely on is the backstories to shape the character, because that's your character, so to speak. So one of my favorite moments with this whole thing is the fact that Maxi Seraph is not your usual Ventrue. Maxi actually cares about mortals and like doesn't really like using disciplines against other people. That's why we haven't seen them use any disciplines at all with season 1.
Did they really not?
Yeah.
Not even once?
No, except to freak out in the room, but that's it. They have not used it against another player. Not even once.
Not even humans?
No.
What?
Yeah, the whole season. That's like
you're right.
Maxi's
Yeah, I don't think I don't recall any moment.
No dominate, no whatsoever.
The hell?
Yeah, that's why like all Maxi had was their words. And playing as the touchstone Nora and having to tell them to be honest and talk to your coterie was just really emotional. And yeah, I guess Maxi Seraph in the first episode flirting with Alice even though they're both gay. I guess that's Elysium for you.
Yeah, it's
it was like malice actually came out of that. I love it. I don't know. I didn't expect the chemistry to be there, and then Maxi taking
you're
charge.
giving your players way too less credit here.
Huh? No, mainly because I know that Maxi is gay and Alice is gay, so I'm just like, okay. No, I love all my players. Maxi becoming like this whole thing, going to the SI and trying to exchange for information. That was such a lost chance. Like the Camarilla got more information than the SI in that episode. And like Kai didn't expect to come into the table with 4 aggravated damage. It was like a whole emotional thing for Maxi and Kai themselves, because
I mean, it was a miracle they actually walked away from the Second Inquisition agents.
yeah,
It was like if
That's a suicide
if they didn't
mission.
have I guess if they didn't have a guardian angel, talking about the ST here, they would have just gone ashed, like
Yeah.
without a doubt. As Talon has true faith, and he could have just one tapped them.
yeah,
Like without true faith, they could have just handled Maxi.
yeah. Like it was a suicide mission. I didn't expect Maxi to go for that. Like, okay, man. Most of the things happening with the Camarilla, I'm surprised that everyone stayed. Like, despite all the detours, of course, all their things, they stayed on the path with the trials. And like Maxi revealing their backstory to the coterie while, just one tap away from being ashed or from Tower 4 was just emotional in a way. I'm surprised the players actually are fine with it, because I would be crying.
Crying
Yeah.
because
Because the mean Second Inquisition people.
because they got bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any SI agents would have just staked the venture after getting information, then left them out for a sun, walk away, go home and have some nice breakfast because call it a day, because that's it. That's how you deal with creatures of the night, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really surprised that Maxie didn't actually die that evening.
Because you know why? Because Trist came out of the van, and Talon got distracted and turned towards Trist instead of ashing Maxie.
I mean, I feel like Dr. Yue would have also intervened there before delivering the final blow. But I mean, afterwards, Maxie came back and Jeff actually interacted with them after they even offered them some medication to ease the pain. But
Maxie looked disgusted.
Unfortunately, they did not accept the medication that would have assisted them in healing themselves.
They're too proud. They're Ventru, even though they're not the usual Ventru. Also, it's like playing as Nora and having to tell off Maxie is just sad.
What do you mean?
For me, it was a very sad scene. Because placing myself in the position of the touchstone, like I already know as Nora that I will grow old and die someday. Like I know Maxie won't actually be able to turn her when the time comes.
Why not?
Because Regina, like Maxie's sire, has always kept an eye on Maxie the whole time. So her days were already numbered.
Oh. I mean, if she can be a ghoul forever.
Yeah.
Unless, someone, put a gun to their head and, blew their brains out. Or absorbed their essence.
No, she
or torched them. Or, God forbid, get eaten by another vampire.
Damn.
Looking at Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, technically, Nora did blew Charlie's brains out, so...
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, revenge.
Yeah, it was... Oh, man. Nora went into the trials with everyone, and I don't know how Maxie felt at that time. I know Maxie, like Kai was telling me that it was heartbreaking, but they know that they can't stop Nora from coming. It was just sad. And now we see in episode 8, Maxie Valentine. This is the alternative of what have happened to Maxie if they didn't escape their sire.
I mean, they seem to be enjoying playing as a dog on a leash. A very tight and kinky leash, I would say.
Do you know how awkward it is for me to play that kind of like sire? Being a naturally awkward person, and then Kai sending me their whole thing, like, oh, this is my sire. I took one look at it and I'm like, okay, challenge accepted, but okay, awkward. I based it upon. Have you watched The Boys?
The Voice?
The Boys.
No.
Yeah. There was this one character that Homelander is like has mommy issues with.
Isn't he the guy who drinks like breast milk?
Yeah, the one who
I've seen the memes.
the breast that he drank from or wanted to drink from is that mom figure.
Ew.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, ew.
How is this related to Maxi?
Because that's what I base is Siron.
Homelander?
Yeah.
He's Homelander?
Yeah.
Or rather, they're Homelander.
They're Homelander.
What? Ooh, like severe mommy issues. Oh, okay, well, I guess. Yeah, I guess. That makes for a good character, a vampire rather. I mean, as a human, I feel like it's kind of weird, but if you're a vampire, I mean,
with your sire.
Yeah, I feel like that's slightly more okay.
I guess, because technically they're not your mom.
They're your sire.
Your sire.
But I imagine Maxi got groomed in this timeline, and they were.
They didn't escape that.
Why would they want to escape? I mean, mommy can provide everything for them. Everything.
Everyone's look of disgust, because the Bahari people, the Bahari crew was watching the Camarillas finale. They were at the side watching. All of them, when I turned to look at them, they all had like looks of disgust on their faces during that whole scene. And there was visible awkwardness throughout the whole crew. Like, I don't mind those kind of scenes. Like, there was a whole lot of consent and a whole lot of like talking beforehand for those kind of scenes. But seeing the visible disgust on people's faces, it's just like, ooh. I should put it in the warning, mommy issues.
Be warned. But yeah, I think Maxi. I really like Maxi's character, and I'm surprised that they're the one. They actually wrote their character in like just a couple of days, and it seems really fleshed out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I guess it developed over the next 8 episodes and whatnot. But I really enjoyed Maxi's arc. They were like slightly more humane than the Second Inquisition mortals. I guess mortal. Because they really did care about everyone around them, which is hard to come by, especially from a Venture,
Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed the character. Would love to see more of them in the next season.
Looking forward to how Maxi will evolve as a character. At least this Maxi Valentine.
The next character is Charlie Knox. Charlie.
In the flesh.
Captain America. No, I really wanted to call him Captain America.
He is Captain America though.
but Jeff didn't know enough about him. He just took one good look at him, and he's just like, oh, okay, this dude's got a presence about him. But yeah, what can you say about Mr. Knox?
Oh, okay. Let's start with the player Adam. When I interviewed Adam, I didn't know what kind of character that he would create. Because Adam has like experiences in like acting, so I thought that he would be playing something like Toreador, the talkative characters, the one who likes to take charge. Instead, he took me by surprise by playing a character that barely talks. I think there was one episode that he only talked for like 3 lines, and that's it.
Oh, you mean the one with Jeffin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude didn't say much. Like he sat there with blood on his. Like props to Adam for just sitting there with all the makeup and whatnot. I'm sure he had like 1,000 things he wanted to say, but unfortunately he was in character. He was also in torpor.
We tried so hard. Like I know the players like Maxi tried so hard to get Charlie to talk about things, and I know that they will be trying harder for season 2 to make Charlie talk about his backstory. But Charlie Knox as a character is just really intertwined with the Camarilla of Sydney. So why being sent to Alice Springs was like in a way for a vacation for him, because him and the sheriff has some history.
You mean Leah?
Yeah.
What's the history?
Well, with this season 1, I think it was briefly touched on that Charlie was in the candidacy for the sheriff role, but Leah got chosen instead. And Charlie refused to become a hound working under Leah. So there was a lot of tension, especially with episode 8. It was very, very, I guess, visible. With the episode 1 Elysium, it wasn't that visible. But episode 8, the tension between the two characters is just visible. So we didn't know a whole lot about Charlie Knox with season 1. Mainly because, he was a very quiet character. He is the, roomies with Jen. But at the end of it, when Charlie was talking to Jen about things, saying goodbye, it just made me sad because there was this whole list of history between the two of them that we will never see or know about.
Yeah, he didn't really speak too often. And the times he did speak, it was with purpose. Especially when, he was the Mr. Talent of the group, albeit more friendly, I guess, in a way, and less talkative, less assertive. Okay, yeah, less of an asshole, but more
more of a suggesting type rather than let's do this.
Yeah, he's for the group rather than I am the group.
Yeah.
He's got that mentality. And we can really see that with, there was, one scene I really enjoyed, and that was actually just after Jeff left.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to take care of his rival. And we can see that he's actually, we can actually see his, how do I describe this? I don't know the exact word to describe it, but
conflicting emotions.
No, we actually see who he truly is, his actual personality, once he's presented with someone from his past, someone that actually mattered. Because I imagine as a 200-year-old vampire, the people around you don't really care, because you meet people every single day. You meet thousands, more than that, of people every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But seeing someone who he recognizes, Doodlebug, was something that I feel like the audience truly enjoyed.
Oh man, that roll off was just, you can see Adam's relief when he won by 1 die. It was
hair away from torpor.
It's just 1. Whew. There's visible relief that he won that.
Yeah, but what I was saying is that's when we really see his character. You know, he's not just a fighty, broody character in the shadows.
He spoke with Doodlebug with familiarity.
Yeah,
and it was something that we don't know. We as the audience doesn't know. You want to know more about that backstory. How did he know Doodlebug? What happened? And it made me sad because, Charlie was it was just holding the ashes of Doodlebug at the end, just staring at it. It's like a veteran having a moment. You've been fighting with somebody for so long that it feels more like it's not a rival anymore. It's more like
a frenemy.
Yeah, it's like a frenemy kind of deal. Doodlebug is somebody who knew Charlie from the beginning. So it's in a way that's a familiar face, You're going through on life your whole life. For thousands of years, hundreds of years. And seeing a familiar face is a welcome sight. You know, you don't have to do the whole like, hello, my name is this, introduction, getting to know another person.
Yeah, they definitely had history, but unfortunately, Doodlebug met his end with his own dagger. What a way to get deleted off the world, you know?
Doodlebug was too proud.
I mean, to be fair, Doodlebug had gone through some shit already with Bahari, so you know, who can blame the guy for just wanting to, you know, delete himself off the face of the planet?
Yeah, willpower is not there anymore. It's just done.
But I'm glad we got to see Charlie at the end of the season, where they actually spoke and they were actually very outgoing, and we see his actual colors, not just, you know, a shade of gray or black. But they actually interacted with quite a few people, jumping in with a little bit of banter on the side, and I think the rivalry with Leah is still very much present, which I feel like we all would enjoy to seeing a lot more in the coming episodes.
It was interesting, considering the fact that the Charlie Knox of this timeline is intertwined with Delilah Jones's.
Oh yeah, with their backstory.
With their backstory. So it's gonna be a fun season 2 for sure. Now let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's talk about Delilah Jones, Miss Jones. What's the deal with the Toreador fledgling?
I don't know. I forgot because it's been so long. It's been a year. I forgot who came up with the idea. I think Izzy was just like, "Can I just have an amnesia, like my character?" And I'm like, "Okay." I asked Izzy, playing as Delilah, like, I told Izzy you would come into Elysium in a box. And Izzy was just like, okay.
Totally down.
Totally down to
ship
be in a
me
box.
in a FedEx box.
Like, because I'm not sure. I can't remember who came up with the idea. I had to write like Delilah's backstory and build the story from the ground up for her character, because she can't remember anything and she had to piece it together. And being the baby of the group, I think Izzy did so well as Delilah Jones, because despite being recently turned, she kept her cool. There was a lot of mistakes done though, like not seeing red flags.
Is it really a mistake as a fledgling? They don't know it's a mistake. No,
it's not. They don't
you don't
know
know
it's a mistake
until it's a mistake.
No, but this is a person mistake. Don't go with a random guy in the bar offering you a drink.
But I mean, you are a vampire. You are a creature of the night. Imagine that you're drunk off of your own power. You just learned you're immortal forever, and you can you can influence people with your mind.
Classic fledgling mistake. Would you have made the same mistake though?
I think everyone would have made that mistake.
Yeah.
As you don't know there's people hunting you. You're new to this world. You're a baby in other people's eyes, but to you, you're like, I'm a fucking vampire. I'm not
powerful.
Human anymore.
I can live forever.
I'm a superhuman. With that mentality, I feel like that arrogance would and naivete. You'd make some mistakes, which you'd look back on and be like, oh, okay, I definitely made that mistake. But as a baby fledgling, I feel like, you can do whatever you want until you can't.
Yeah. Like knowing that, oh man, Delilah struggled so much with the first 3 episodes because they had to be shipped off in the middle of nowhere where everything closes at 9 p.m. So they can't even get clothes, like proper clothes. Like Delilah herself doesn't have a phone, which as a young person in this time and age, I guess she's a Gen Z, because she's like 25. Oh no, she's a millennial. 25 in 2019. Everyone has phones. And for her to not have a phone is just stunting her in a way. And you can see the panic in her eyes, like asking for a phone every other episodes. You know?
Yeah.
But with Delilah's curiosity about like everything, it brought a whole new dynamic to the group. But she's more curious than everyone else. Also, is it like a fledgling mistake to be influenced by Baharis?
Jesus Christ. I had to let that one out as you said the bad word. Bahari. No, I feel like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to know you're part of like some secret dark cult that worships the very first mage or demon, or depending on which lore you're using.
Yeah.
You're worshipping Lilith as a very impressionable fledgling. You don't know who to believe, so you'll just absorb everything that's being poured into you, especially if someone reveals that, oh, I actually made you.
I'm your mom.
Yeah, so okay, so you're my parent figure. I'm gonna believe whatever you say. You made me this way. You have a purpose for me. Like you're gonna give me a mission, right? And they were given a mission, and I think they performed quite well in whatever they were tasked to do.
Nobody was suspicious of Delilah at all during the time. Mainly because I think like the older kindred were just underestimating her because she's a fledgling. Like if you're a fledgling, you usually like trust your coterie at that point. Like they are your family. But Delilah managed to lie about the whole thing.
I mean, everyone has the capacity to lie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, vampire or not, I feel like that's just human nature. So I feel like what they did was spectacular because nobody suspected them. They went under the radar completely. Nobody even asked them, where you been.
No, they did.
I mean, they pursued, what they asked. Nobody tried to insight check Delilah.
They did. They failed. Delilah passed her subterfuge role.
Who insight?
Everyone incited.
Everyone did?
Yeah,
Oh,
except for Charlie. Except for Charlie. Charlie's like, I'm not gonna incite Delilah because I trust her. But Maxie and Jen incited Delilah, and they both failed.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the reason why they didn't suspect anything, because they they didn't have enough insight.
Nobody suspects the baby. It's their words. Also, Delilah is a chaotic gremlin, is what I can like say, because when they went to the house, to the Fae house, Delilah just wanted to take some of the cookie.
What?
Yeah, remember they went to the house.
Oh, right.
And there was a take one
with Trixie.
Cookie. Yeah, with Trixie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's
cookie.
I mean, she is young. And I think it's just her character that's very down to do whatever.
Yeah. So seeing season 2 Delilah just not even being shy, like a whole being a raver, is quite different. She's more outgoing because now with this
Is she not a psychiatrist anymore?
No, like she used to be. She used to be a psychiatrist,
and then she became a rave girl.
Yeah,
she became.
Because she came into Australia with Victoria, and from reaching to like Midnights in Metro Manila backstory lore, which Delilah had taken, like Izzy had taken. Victoria used to be a raver when she was also a neonate. So it's like seeing Delilah grow up with a different, in a way, stepsire. It's like, wow, she's different. That's why Soul said they didn't know whether or not they like the changes yet. Because this Delilah accepts more risk openly. Like she did so well against the Toreador Primogen, her Primogen. When the Toreador Primogen handed her like the cup that's like awkward, the awkward cup with like different handles, filled to the brim with red wine, handed Delilah in her full white attire. Delilah did so well, did not spill a drop.
Right. Oh, Isidora. Yeah. She did try to. She was playing games.
Yeah.
With the little neonate.
Yeah. I'm like,
Very
damn.
Elysium.
Damn, it was very Elysium. Isadora wanted to test the newcomer. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of Delilah in season 2. I'm sad that she changed her touchstone, because it was Jeff before, and they never really actually interacted. So unfortunately, that touchstone relationship was non-existent.
Yeah, now with season 2, everything is so intertwined. I had to make a big like relationship map because everyone's just connected with each other at this point. So I can't wait for season 2 drama, especially with touchstones, like you said.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get more spice in the coming season. Speaking of spice, why don't we move to the Spice Lords of this chronicle, the actual monsters that are pulling the strings from the shadows, the Bahari.
Oh, the most efficient group. They were about to finish the story in episode 4, and I'm like, I'm trying to pull everything back, like slow them down a bit. Because the Camarilla and the SI is like taking their sweet time moving around. So with the Bahari, like I said, they were supposed to be just a guest. They were just supposed to be guest characters. Like they're not supposed to be regular characters. But with like the situation and stuff, that changed, and they did amazing. Even Lorna, Tara was brought in like as well last minute. Because we were scrambling to find a 4th player for the group. And Tara messaged me on, I think, Facebook. And I managed to, interact with Tara. We met and then we talked. And then on the way to recording, they've got like ideas, they've got all this stuff already, they've got their costumes. It was all last minute, and I'm so glad Tara pulled through. Like, thank you, Tara, for that. That was like amazing. Everything was so last minute with season 1, and I'm hoping with season 2 we will avoid some of the things that we made mistakes on with season 1. I guess you just have to learn.
So what can you tell me about the Bahari?
The Bahari was supposed to be like the hidden puppet masters of the story. They weren't supposed to be showing up as an active player of the story. They were supposed to be like dropping hints here and there about their involvement, but not actually getting involved. But because of this whole thing, we managed to see like the backstage of the whole thing, and because it was all last minute with some stuff happening, I did not have a proper write-up for the Bahari, and I did let the players know about that too, and I had to do like a rough write-up of how everything would go. I think I was on the sky bus going somewhere, and I looked like a crazy person with the big notebook and just writing how the timelines would connect to each other. I'm pretty sure I still have that. Yeah, with the Bahari story, they're dealing not just with the Camarilla and the Second Inquisition. Like, they don't care about that. They're dealing with the um what's the word for it? The Sabat, the politics of it all, because everyone had like they wanted to push the Bahari's agenda, and the Sabat has quite some influence in Alice Springs. So they were having quite a hard time with that. And then, of course, Camarilla and Second Inquisition were just messing everything up. All the while, they're trying to do, like, push this agenda, all the while living double lives. You know?
Oh, what do you mean double lives?
Like, Dasha is the Tremere Regent in Sydney's Camarilla.
Mm-hmm.
Tara is part of Sydney's Camarilla. And then we see Mr. Winters is the head of the garden. Even though it's supposed to be like named the Ark, he renamed it. Even though, I'm sorry, Matt, I know it was not your fault. You were just playing as a character guest at that time, and the players decided to take the name The Garden for for the operations of Second Inquisition. Like, the building, the complex is named The Garden, and I'm like, I've got Bahari stuff here, and you want to name it The Garden? And so I had to like change like Mr. Winters' character to actually be part of the Bahari due to it.
I mean, it's very fitting. I mean, if you name your place of work or the place you're cultivating as the garden, you might as well you're on the way to joining the Bahari.
Yeah.
Not that we know they'll accept you at first, but you know. They were taking some steps, and I guess that's why Winter is kind of fit with them, and we see that he eventually became part of them, an official member.
Yeah,
even though he's a man. He's a man.
Gender doesn't the Bahari doesn't care about gender, though majority is
though
women.
They have I feel like the Bahari have a severe distrust of men, just because of their, of Lilith's story.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If you read the book, you'll definitely know why Lilith does not.
It was so sad.
Yeah, does not enjoy the company of men.
Also,
human.
That's
men.
why most. That's why most of the members of the Bahari as well are all like women who's gone through a lot. That's why I was like reluctant to bring this story forward, because it means delving into that backstory.
Yeah, the Bahari has a lot of... Being part of the Bahari has... as a character, you need to have gone through some shit.
Yeah, like really bad shit. And Mr. Winters, oh my god, he went through a lot. Like, he had to be initiated with the Gimpy tree. That's like one touch and it's just so painful you want to kill yourself. Yet he endured. He did not cry out. So I have a lot of respect for Mr. Winters from that point. And then he got kicked out from his workplace.
That's just a Winter's fault, though. That's he brought that upon himself, not because of shitty circumstances. That's just because of his own workings,
Yeah.
Then that doesn't necessarily mean he went through pain and suffering from that. It's just him being power hungry, getting drunk off of whatever power he had, and then getting a gotcha moment by the people who actually have power.
Yeah.
The moderator and the arbiter.
Yeah.
Who was well within the right to kick him the fuck out of the Ark, But yeah, I mean,
we see we saw like a glimpse into the backstory of Winters when he was forced to walk for hours. I think it was like when we googled search how long it would take them to walk Pine Gap to Alice Springs. It was like 8-9 hours by walking.
Damn.
And in the middle of, at that time, it's like summer. The sun is just beating on you. It's like, oh. And I know the flies will be all over him. The flies will just like delete your willpower. If there is a discipline where the flies just slowly like eats away at your willpower, it would be used. It would be in Alice Springs, cause damn. Plus, he's got like a big bruise because he got like the laptop thrown at him.
I want to say that's not enough for our dark mother. What's 9 hours of walking compared to a lifetime full of despair? You're a man. You need to go through so much more. And that's why he got tossed onto the Gimpy Gimpy tree.
Yeah.
Also, he wasn't even embraced.
No,
he's just human.
He's just human.
In any case, I feel like Matt did a phenomenal job of playing Winters in season 1.
Yeah,
as you know, we kind of painted a little story similar to Icarus. You know, he flew way too close to the sun, and he burned his wings, and now he had to walk in actual heat back to Alice Springs. And then he got initiated into the Bahari, which I feel like was a little. I mean, the Gimpy Gimpy tree. Okay, sure. You know that surviving that's kind of a feat itself. But is that enough to be inducted into our unholy cult?
I'm not sure. We should let everyone decide that for themselves.
Yeah, that's the actual question.
Yeah, and with
if Lilith was to appear before us, our dark mother, would she simply say, "Welcome, my child"?
We never got to see that because Winters was actually taken away.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, with Trixie. Because
Winters
failed his composure and resolve check. He failed so hard. Trixie managed to get him to eat something.
So you're saying that, you know, he also got deleted off of season 1?
Before he even got the chance to go through the trials to prove himself.
Okay, maybe that's where, you know, that's the actual suffering he had to go through.
Yeah. And with episode 8, we see that Deacon Winters, is quite different. Not anymore
but he's
human.
a vampire.
Yeah.
La
Sombra.
Interesting.
And he was on the run. With the episode 8, he talked about being on the run from Second Inquisition, which means that they have captured him and he managed to break out. If they captured him again, it's for sure that they would just kill him. And he has a daughter. What?
Yeah, that came as a surprise. I originally was thinking that he'd keep he'd make a touchstone that would be more around you know, like a Delilah sort of touchstone, like someone like a doctor or a psychiatrist or something, but a child. What?
I was surprised.
Yeah, that's kind of like
18.
Damn.
Like he's got a teenager.
Wait, how old is
18?
She's 18?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She's like an adult. I thought it was like a little girl.
No. She's an adult. But
oh my god.
like
I was totally thinking of like an Ellie Joel situation. You know? Like just you and me in the world, kid.
I guess that's how it started. Because their story is quite sad. That's why I can't wait for season 2.
Okay. Well, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
I'm looking forward to how Mr. Deacon Winters will show his true colors to us. And by colors, I mean just black, because he's
black ink, darkness.
He's an Oblivion user now.
The
humanity is
Somber
definitely
that doesn't
stained.
have any Oblivion sight, by the way.
That's okay.
That's okay. He's got the other things.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Lorna.
Oh,
Why don't we talk
Lorna.
about Lorna?
I love Lorna. She's always got like the sassiest comebacks.
Yeah, they definitely have a they have attitude.
I love her.
That when I think of Lorna, I would say attitude. They got that sass. They got the aura, the presence. I mean, that's very Toreador, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And I think that's why Tara plays Lorna excellent. Is because they can definitely pull it off. I cannot see Tara playing any other clan. Maybe I can, but with Lorna, it's really stuck to me of how their image is and what kind of comebacks you gotta be careful of. Like if you're talking to them, like you gotta be careful what you say, otherwise they might snap at you with something you can't come back from. It might send you off the face of the planet from an insult.
I love like Tara did such an amazing job. Like it's just like in such a short amount of time, she managed to make a sire for Delilah, and I am so happy about it. Cause like like it was just last minute. I didn't know who else could be the fourth player of like the Bahari clan or the group, and Tara really stepped up, and I'm so happy. I'm so glad for that. And with all like the comments and everything, it just made the whole Bahari group very sassy, very spicy. It made the Bahari like not just a 2D like, oh, they're just the villains kind of deal. It's very like girl power kind of deal. And the one person, like the 0.00001 is Winters.
He's not even official.
He's not even official because he's not a vampire.
He's just there. He's their little pet. The inside man.
Oh yeah, and then with episode 8, we see that Tara, like Lorna, is quite different, like more punk and more sass. Like they really turned the dial up to like.
Well, before we get to
1000.
the episode 8 of the Bahari, I mean, Tara as a player, this is their first, I think, this is their first V5 game. And they came in last minute, as you said. And
Yeah, they had to learn the system last minute.
I imagine coming in last minute and not knowing much about the system.
Yeah, even lore.
I'm sure
I think they
they played V20.
Tara knows the lore. They just don't know the system. That's why with the Bahari episode 1, if you notice, there wasn't much to roll. I didn't make them roll much. There was a lot of talking because it was essentially a negotiation to try and induct new members into the Bahari, Yeah, with episode 8, Tara is just like Lorna. I'm sorry, Lorna and Tara is just like one person to me now. I love you. But yeah, with episode 8, it was Lorna was just so punk. Like she was truly bringing like the doubts to like Alice's story. Like, why would we join you? And you can see Alice being like stumbling upon words, doesn't know how to convince them. Like, how do you convince somebody like that when she's just shutting you down over and over and over again? Like, how do we know you're not lying? And nobody wants to take her deal that she would show them. Nobody wanted to touch her. And Lorna was just bringing the sass.
Oh yeah, they were definitely bringing some heat to the table.
With that episode 8, it was just.
Yeah, they were definitely just shutting down Alice's advances towards them and telling them about their backstory together and their history and whatnot. But I mean, they did eventually believe them because of Dasha's premonition.
Yeah.
But seeing them kind of just be a bitch to Alice was just so entertaining, just because Alice was like that in the
Yeah.
first few episodes.
But now the tables have turned.
How to have tables.
But look forward to season 2 because Tara's character Lorna is gonna be much more proactive.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see
We'll
we'll
see.
see the machinations they've set for the Bahari. Well, I mean, they're not even part of the Bahari, are they?
No, not yet.
Yeah, they're not part of the Bahari just yet. So
Yeah.
we'll see if they accept the word of Lilith.
We'll see how they will accept it.
I mean, they could be swayed to follow the words of the Dark Father instead. I mean, if I was playing in the Camarilla as a vampire, I'd definitely play for Cane Daddy.
Ugh. No, I'd rather go with the girl boss. Thank you.
Yeah, but she'll just consume you.
That's fine. Thank you.
She'll consume your essence and make use you. And I mean, that's the same for any other ancient being.
Oh my god, they don't care about you. Okay, let's move on. Next character.
Oh, Dasha.
Dasha von
Dasha.
Lang.
If there's one character that kind of stands out in this entire chronicle, I mean, they all stand out in their own way, but to me, for my personal take on this, is if there's a character that stands out, it's definitely the Tremere. Dasha is it's quite the character. How do I put this into words? They're skilled. They're skilled not just with the books, but with their words. The way they maneuver around with other characters, tiptoeing on on the very edge, and saying the right things, so people don't ask too many questions back or answer too little. They have a way with people, not just with people, but with books. They know how to play the game. They know how to disturb what needs to be disturbed. They know how to create chaos from nothing.
I think that's a nod to Sophie's amazing role playing skills.
I was just about to say, I think it's just Sophie.
Yeah.
Never mind. If there's a player, if there's a person that stands out, I think it's just, But I mean, I think they really fit the part of the Tremere, because that's how the Tremere are.
Yeah.
They put knowledge above everything else first.
Yeah. And it's I had a whole backstory for Dasha von Lang, and Sophie just took it and ran away with it, which is amazing. Though, I can't quite remember who it was, but somebody did suggest. Was it me? I don't know. Was it the players? I don't know. But somebody did suggest that there's a rumor that Dasha von Lang had slept with the Prince Saracen.
I think you started that rumor.
No. It was in the whole group, and I was asking questions. I can't remember. Maybe I'm old.
Maybe she took your memories. That's
yeah, that's very Dasha.
she took your memories.
She took everyone's
probably in that maze.
memories. She took everyone's memories that she lost her own. That's Dasha.
I mean, I don't have anything much to say about Dasha, because the only thing that kind of what I mean to say is with much to say is their character was very consistent.
Yeah.
They don't have. I'm not gonna say they don't have much of a character development. It's more that they were so consistent to the point that there was nothing to notice but consistency. They knew how to maneuver certain things. They knew how to progress a story, and just like you said, they were done with the story in the 4th episode. The rest of it was just we're gonna slow down. We're gonna pull this back quite a little bit, and quite a bit, and just have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were doing, with the guest NPCs and PCs.
Yeah.
They were just simply having fun with it, and that I think there's really not much I can say about it, except for the last part where they got betrayed because of their consistency. Everyone knew how they were gonna act,
Yeah.
and I think that was their biggest downfall, was them being consistent to the point of everyone knew exactly how they were gonna act, and they used that against them.
I wanted to shake up the consistency of the Bahari. That's why I had to throw them like some of the things. With Dasha, what I had thrown is the prince to keep it like to just see how, like, show the audience how Dasha would act towards Prince Saracen, and part of that is like also bringing Jam in. It's like showing, because Dasha asked for help. Of course, the prince would know all about it once it comes up. And seeing this younger Tremere, neonate, with the prince, we see like a whole side to Dasha, like scolding the prince. Like, really? So it showed how much power she actually wielded.
Who, Dasha?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Sorry, she was. I thought Jam was the neonate.
Yeah, Jam was the neonate.
Oh, I thought you were describing Dasha. I was like, what? Isn't Dasha like much older than the
No,
neonate?
Dasha was scolding. That's why we showed some power with Dasha, because Dasha was scolding the Prince Saracen.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that because of their romantic history, their intimate relationship?
Yeah, but they ended it, as
Intimate
they said.
situationship.
Situationship, that's what they have. But but showing that, even if you're the prince's ex, you shouldn't just talk like that to the prince, you know?
Yeah, but it's Saracen.
Yeah, it's Saracen.
It's Saracen.
It was. Chris played Saracen so well. I love it.
I think Dasha in season 2, they're not Primogen, right?
No.
Yeah, I think in season 2, I really feel like we're gonna see how they climb the ladder if they want to play that game. Otherwise, I feel like they'll happily accept the Dark Mother's words, as there's more knowledge to be gained from the cult of Lilith.
Yeah, but she's also like with episode 8, Dasha was just also shutting down Alice. Both Dasha and Lorna shutting down Alice Bar was just like, how do you try to convince these two people? One is like hungry for knowledge and the other just doesn't believe you. It was quite a challenge. So that's why the only way for Dasha to actually believe is to see that premonition when she was shown the tree. Because there's knowledge right there that, she's never seen. Those memories she hasn't seen. With episode 8, Dasha, instead of being staked, she'd rather take her own life. Which doesn't really count if you're staked with, I feel like they failed the test, is what Jen said. But her lines, I'd rather do it myself than let you two bitches do it.
Oh, damn.
I'm like, oh.
Get fucked.
Damn. I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where Sophie takes Dasha in the next season.
I guess one of my favorite scenes with Dasha is not when she's talking with the prince, and it's not when she's torturing Doodlebug. It's when she was talking with Seven. Like, we saw like a whole different side to Dasha, like talking to a child.
7 or 9?
7.
I don't remember.
Oh, with their trial, Dasha was trying to look for
in the
memory.
labyrinth. I thought
Yeah,
outside,
in the labyrinth.
like in another instance. Like how? When did they interact with Seven?
It was in the labyrinth, and she was in her like memories, in her mental maze, and she met with Seven. It was different for somebody who's always like power hungry, knowledge hungry, somebody who's alone. Seeing Dasha interact with Seven was quite touching. It showed that she is somehow still have humanity left. Really deep down inside. Also, you can see a bit of Sophie's like playfulness, like surface, like at times when she wanted to fly.
Oh yeah.
Or she wanted to scare Nine to see how she would react. I'm like, okay.
It's a good time. As I said earlier, they were just having fun.
Yeah, they were having fun.
Because they figured out the story. They slowed down. Now it's just time to enjoy the story and fuck around a little bit.
Alright, I can't wait for Dasha's like season 2, how she would develop, she would gain the knowledge.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for the Tremere.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the only Tremere in the Chronicle, right? I mean, among the players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so sad. There's no Malkavians in this story. At least the players.
How unfortunate.
How unfortunate.
And finally, I think this is going to be quite the topic, quite the character to be spoken of. Alice Barr. What can you got any thoughts about our Nosferatu?
The head of the Coven mother.
Yeah, the head of the cell.
Alice Barr is one of the most detailed NPCs I've written. Because Alice Springs itself, when I think about Alice Springs, I think about like a Nosferatu character. Mainly because during summer in Alice Springs, the amount of flies is just everywhere. And it wouldn't be like a surprise to see like a Nosferatu moving around and using those flies as an information gatherer. Because you cannot move through Alice Springs without being assaulted by flies during summer. They're just all over your face, your ears, your nose.
Ew.
It was a lot. That's why you see those hats. You see those hats with the cork? That's for the flies. So when you move your head, they just like swat the flies away.
Are you alluding to the fact that these flies are actually Alice's?
Yeah. That's how I wrote her. Then I'm so glad Melissa took on the Alice Barr role. Because Melissa just fleshed out Alice much more than I would ever had. Like, with the backstories and everything, the touchstone. I think, I forgot which episode it was, but I was alluding to the fact that when Alice was trying to call the last stop, there was, there was no answer from Jasmine. And Melissa, as the player, knew that something was wrong, and she's been trying to go to the roadhouse for a few episodes before she finally managed to get away and go. And it's like one of those like she knows moments. She knows that something's wrong, but she can't get away. And having to send away all her touchstones was just sad. If you were a vampire and you had to send away all your touchstones because it would be dangerous for them to stay, how would you feel?
I feel like Alice having all these responsibilities, being part of the Sabat, being part of the Camarilla, and secretly being a Bahari member. I feel like there was a lot on their plate, but they could handle it.
They're very competent.
They were so on top of their game that I feel like not a lot of people would mess with them if they knew.
Yeah. There was so many layers to Alice Bar. It's like an onion. Yeah, the more you peel, the more you cry. And we see a lot of her. We touch on a lot of Alice Barr's backstory when they went to the labyrinth. And because of her close connection with Nine, she was treating Nine as her daughter. And I think in one of our conversations, Melissa was actually telling me that she knew that, I think it was also in the last recap, that Alice knew that the reason why Nine died is because she got distracted with Alice. Like, it was that like tiny moment of hesitation that got Nine deleted off the earth. And that's how most games go.
You said that Melissa was the one who actually fleshed out the story.
The backstory?
Yeah.
Like, I have a fleshed out backstory, but not to the point that we went all the way back to when she was human.
Dang.
Like, was it Samantha? Samantha was like Melissa's idea.
Who's Samantha?
Her,
Oh, the one in the last stop?
yeah. No. Samantha is her human. When she was human, when Alice was human.
Oh, the real name?
No, Samantha was her lover.
Oh,
Not lover. It's more like a best friend, girlfriend.
Oh, because in the 80s.
Yeah. 1800s.
Oh, 1800s.
Yeah. They were in England at that time, and we see like a whole lot of Alice's backstory where her husband, we learned that her husband beat her and was the one who killed her. And we see like her happy moments when, because 8 was just trying to get any information out of like Alice to blurt out, and she blurted out something about Samantha, that she wasn't able to protect Samantha. And so in the labyrinth where Samantha was, Samantha told her, even though Alice knew it was fake, like that Samantha was fake and it was just an illusion, Samantha was telling her that she needed to keep her safe. And Alice asked, safe from what? And then it turned out because 8 and 9 is having like a whole thing. And it just crushed Melissa as the player with all the things that happened. Because I think like a few episodes before the labyrinth episode, she finally got to the last stop, and we had to dig through like a whole lot.
8 was there.
Yeah, 8 was there, and we had to dig through a whole lot of things. And by the end of that session, Melissa was just like tearing up, and she said that she was so close to crying, but she held herself, like, because Alice Barr has a lot of composure, so Alice wouldn't like cry. But Melissa herself had like a little good cry. And we all hugged. And I said, I'm sorry. I felt bad. But it made for a great story. And Melissa said like it was cathartic in a way. So Alice is just like, I guess it's, Alice is like one of my favorite storylines in this whole story. And then it was a tie between like Jen's story and Alice's story because both are just so emotional.
Yeah, I gotta really give them props for being inseparable from their characters. Like when I see like Mel, I almost always call her by Alice. Or Hollow, I almost always call them Jen. And I think it's because they really showed us the humanity of their characters, even though they're playing monsters, right?
Yeah.
With all those moments where they broke down.
It was glorious. Such great role players, man.
Yeah, all of them. All of them are so good. And it's such a... I'm lucky to be part of like such a talented cast. And I really feel like without them, the story wouldn't really come to life. Because if they weren't there, they'd just be like another NPC, you know, another character that's in the background. But with all of these episodes, with all of these points of view, I really see we as the audience really see, you know, who they are.
Yeah.
Like we all know they're playing, you know, vampires, they're playing monsters in this, you know, in this shitty world, but as vampires, you can really see how human they still are, even though they're no longer one.
Yeah. And that's the point of vampires. It's all about trying to balance your humanity. Through all the shitty things that happen, they still haven't lost their humanity to the point that they don't care. And yeah, it's... Ooh, I don't know. The episode 7 of all the season, like the whole season 1, all the episode 7, it was just all dramatic in their own little way. And I'm so glad to be storytelling for this group, even though I don't think that I'm like qualified enough to be. I'm just so happy that we managed to get the story out and they fleshed out the world.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been possible without you know, working your butt off over time with this story and trying to figure out how to work which fits where and how to do this, scheduling all that, and also the location scouting, because you know, that production itself is difficult without a studio. Now imagine having to schedule like 10 different people's you know, schedules and line them up and see where is the best place to go at what time, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know how big and impossible this project was until it was pointed out by Matt. We had like a whole lot of issues because I worked with Matt since like the first episode, like even before. I didn't expect him to actually come to me and tell me like, hey, I would like to be the producer, like technical producer of this whole thing, like the tech guy. I don't mind that not being on the table. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I would like you to be at the table. Because Matt was telling me that he was feeling awkward. He's an awkward person. He doesn't know how to act. I'm like, come on, just go to the table and see. And he's amazing. Perfect Mr. Winters. And at some point, oh man, you know, I think I talked to you about this when we finished at I think episode 3 of everyone's recording for like that session. We were packing up and everything. Adam was putting his like stuff away, like his audio equipments away and stuff. And Matt asked us like, where's the SD card for the audio tracks? And we were in front of like Adam's place at that point, and we were like pulling apart all the equipment on the street in the middle of the night. It was like 9 p.m. and we were pulling everything off. I said I will be home in like 15 minutes because there's no traffic. Meanwhile, it took me like an hour just to get home because we were panicking. And I told Matt, let's circle back to our recording studio and see. And when we rolled up there, I got out of the car and I looked down and I saw the tiny ass SD card on the floor, on the ground, right on the street where any car could have driven over it. So I was just like,
Guys would have lost all of your audio.
I think I was like about to cry at that point. I didn't care.
Imagine having to reshoot an entire episode
Oh,
or a day's worth of recording.
we actually did that because one of the recording with one of the sessions got corrupted. And so the
What?
Camarilla episode 1 had like one of their like sessions corrupted. And so we had to reshoot the first episode of the Camarilla.
Oh my
And
God.
Some of them were like confusing the first episode that got corrupted to the actual episode that aired. It was so bad. Recording,
We'll
like-
file that under the deleted scenes category of the production.
it was so bad. When you think about this, like, online streaming, I did like the online stream of Vampire the Masquerade. It's way easier than having to do an in-person one. A lot to learn. And I want to just thank the cast members, everyone who made this possible. Like thank you for like getting the story out there, for helping me build this world. Thank you for all the extras, like the NPCs, the guest players who joined the story. Thank you for what was that? Thank you for the recording studios, which I will not name. And thank you for Jason Carl for guiding me as to giving me tips on how to storytell, because it's my first time storytelling a game. I was so nervous and I had like a lot of questions, and letting him know about issues with this stuff and him letting me know that this is normal. Ooh, that gave me a whole lot of confidence with telling the story. And yeah, I hope you guys join us for season 2, because it will be extra spicy.
Awesome. Okay. Any other closing thoughts about the Chronicle, about the production?
I guess a little thing is just, if you are thinking about recording for this kind of deal, be prepared to put so many hours into, especially if you are an indie team, like just a team of like newbies like us. Be prepared to put so many hours into making your production look good. But in the end, it will be all worth it. And for season 2, we've got, I guess, a whole new look. Yeah, that's all from me. We will see you all soon next season. Once again, my name is Rena, and I have been the storyteller for this chronicle. And this is my co-host for this night.
Lou, and we thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Right. Bye.
Peace.